You are listening to the show that is all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business. I'm your host, Shalom Klein. We love talking on this show with folks making a difference in the community, people involved in entrepreneurship, people involved in business, but also sharing advice and information for folks that are entrepreneurs, people that do own businesses. And our next guest knows a lot and has a lot of advice to share. So we're excited to have Klein Kapetansky, a senior principal at Trexan Consulting in the city of Chicago, joining us on Get Down to Business. Klein, thanks for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here.
Fantastic. So, Klein, tell us about your background and tell us how you came to this point that you are now in the world of consulting, and hopefully we could get some advice for you on the show today.
Well, I have had a long checkered career where I've gone back and forth between being, an employee of corporations, small, medium, and large, and being consulting. And I feel that being inside of a corporation helps me be a better consultant. Being a consultant makes me a better employee of the company. So, across all the places, and it's been Bell Labs, and it's been telecommunications sector, and financial sector, and now healthcare sector. I think that one thread that's been continuing has been my love of data, and now that's actually a buzzword, big data. And I think what I'd like to do is hopefully share some tips on how to, kind of look at this new buzzword, but with your old experience for any managers who are listening or executives, and try and reduce it to things that they already know how to deal with.
Well, Klein, thanks for making that advice available. So, big data is a big issue. With big data comes big risks. Tell us about the data that you work with and the things that you've seen in working with companies on all levels.
Well, so I actually got my start in .com era, where I was the Chief Technology Officer of FastWeb, which is still a website out there for financial aid for students, and it was the largest such database collecting probably more information about 16 to 24-year-olds than anywhere else on the planet. And with that, we found came an immense amount of responsibility. And this was 15 years ago, but we knew that really one spam message sent to a child noticed by a parent that was not from us, but could be traced back to us, could sink the entire company. So day by day, we knew that any success we had during the day could be wiped out if we didn't guard that privacy. And that kind of started me off talking with AOL and Microsoft and justifying that we had enough protection and controls. Big data is a buzzword that specifically talks about what Google, Amazon, Facebook have done, where they're not actually storing all data rigorously up to date all the time. So it's a huge data pool. In fact, some people are even using a buzzword, data lake, of semi-organized data. And the advantage to that is that they don't have to, it's growing 10, 100, 1,000 times bigger than data stores before, because you don't have to wait for it all to be rigorously filtered and organized. The flip side to it is that there is so much data there that anybody else can actually get in there. Well, I mean, the qualified people can make connections between what you've done with your credit card at a gas station in Florida and some of your other personal data pooled together, and they can make these kind of data connections that really, if you think about it, kind of scares people and may be considered, even if legal, may be considered an invasion of your privacy.
So, Klein, let's put this into perspective. So, first of all, data can be used for good and for bad, clearly. Data can and is being used by companies big and small. You don't need to be an Amazon or a Netflix to be a user of big data and to have those big risks. Companies big and small need to protect their data and use it properly. So what are the examples of data being used properly? You just shared some of those examples that companies are using, the swipe of a credit card to learn more about people that are using their credit card products or services. But tell us some other good examples that entrepreneurs and business owners listening to the show might be able to take advantage of.
Well, and I'm going to use some names of some companies that are familiar names, and I don't mean to be recommending them because there are equivalents from the other big players. So, but for instance, Google, you can now host your website. And it used to be when you started a .com or a small business, you'd hire somebody of considerable talent and experience sitting at the table to do all of your technology stuff, and you had to put in your infrastructure and manage it and everything. Now, it's a monthly cost from Google or Amazon or a number of other players. And what Google has as a layer on top, and they're only just an example, is that you can actually do your data mining on people who have visited your site, who respond to your mailings, and similarly, there's a social media gathering that lets people know, lets you know on a weekly basis or even on demand who's visited, for what, when, why, and it's a direct comparison, if you will, analog to when you were, say, to a hardware store owner who hears the bell jingle on the door and is able to watch in the mirror what people stop in the aisles. It's an amazing maturation of the market that's accessible to everybody.
So, Glenn, we've got about a minute remaining. Summing it up, I think what I'm hearing you say is that there, together with big data, first of all, use your data, but together with big data comes big risks, but also big opportunity as well. And your example of Google is well taken. Lots of opportunity to use data, as I'm sure most of our listeners have experienced. And hopefully, you can take that advice and put it to use in your businesses, big or small. So we're talking with Glenn Kapetansky from Trexan Consulting. Glenn, you've shared a lot of information. Hopefully, we'll have you back on the show. But how can people reach you to learn more?
Oh, you can easily catch me through email, Glenn with two N's, Glenn at Trexan. That's TREXIN.com, and also through the website. I'm featured there as well.
Glenn at Trexan.com. Thank you for joining us. After the break, we're going to be talking more tips and advice for entrepreneurs out there. You're listening to Get Down to Business. Let's talk some more entrepreneurship. Thanks for joining us. Let's get down to business.